What's up, everyone? We're going to start today's episode off with some housekeeping. Sherry sent in a comment suggesting to name the ski resort Socket and Ski Resort, a play on the words suck it and see and sock it to them, and naturally socks in it. We're going to go with it. So Socket and Ski Resort is what we're going with. Thanks, Sherry, for the suggestion. The ski resort officially has a name, and I'm happy about that. Forgot to do that in the last episode. But I'm Socks Way Up. Thanks for joining Chillhorn. If this is your first time stopping by, check out the description below for a link to the complete playlist of Chillhorn. Today, we're going to build a high school. We're going to build some residential areas. But first, I wanted to start off by showing some of the changes I've made to the highways, at least the exits and the on-ramps. This is another thing that I wanted to challenge myself with by just getting better at the game. I was using some pre-baked assets from the workshop, so I decided to make my own. Made our own on-ramps, made our own off-ramps, added a lot of the detailing with the forest brush. I think it looked pretty awesome. I think it turned out pretty neat. But what I wanted to do, we still have one that's not finished, so I want to do a quick time lapse of that and kind of show you how I was doing that and how they turned out. And let me know what you think about these new on-ramps and off-ramps. All right, so what I did here at the very beginning was extended the road so I knew exactly where I wanted it to line up. And that gave us, the ability to go ahead and delete everything in the middle and get a good start going. As you can see here, we decided to go underneath the highway with the main road, and I'm doing that so I can keep the highway flush instead of having these random freeway exits where the highway's above it or goes below it. And I wanted to make it consistent and just have the freeway not change, but the exits kind of be built around the highway themselves. And you can see I add the on-ramps and off-ramps the same distance. I think we did 21 on each of these, and then we were matching them up with the same height of the freeway to allow the transition lane to blend right into it after we finally figure out how to use Move It again. And then we try to have the lanes or the exits and entrances just kind of slope naturally either up to the highway or down to the main road. And it turns out pretty neat. I'm doing it consistently on both sides. The bend there was about an 8 distance. And it turns out really, really nice. And then you have to remember to upgrade the middle of the freeway. So what we're doing here is a little bit of lane mathematics. We're going to do 3 lanes down to 2 lanes after some of this detailing that we're doing. And it comes out pretty clean, especially once you terraform it and blend the terrain back to be more as smooth as possible. And we're kind of hiding some of the flaws of the terrain with some trees and some detailing. I think it turns out a lot better than the product before. Let me know what you think. Should we keep going with this type of design in the city? I think I'm going to keep doing this in most of my cities. Now we're going to transition into the new area that we're building today. We're going to build a high school. We're going to build some residential areas, but this is a great example of turning on the game, starting out with what you thought was a plan to just build out residential areas, and it just goes sideways on you. I like to call it City Skylines ADD. I don't think I'm the only one that has that. But you can see at the very beginning, we laid down some roads. I didn't like them at all. I deleted them. I grabbed a high school. I knew I just downloaded this from the asset store. I said it again, from the workshop, and we went with it. And after building this one out, I really have a desire to see this without snow. I think it would look a lot better. It looks really neat in snow. It kind of shows a dormant high school in the winter while everyone's maybe on winter break and they let the snow get covered everywhere. This initial area that we're building is just a lot of parking for the school. Kind of think of it as the front. Maybe that's where the teachers park, and then in the back we're going to build a larger parking structure for possibly the student parking and also for when people show up for football games and other type of sporting events. And back to the ADD comment, I had no intention of building a high school. I was going to build just residential areas. You can see how high our residential demand is right now. And that's really what I wanted to focus on in this episode. But I got digging into building out this high school, and I kept going with it. The next thing we do here is we're doing a little bit of terraforming. We're going to even things out a little bit, get those roads straightened out, and the camera's just going to go crazy there in this time lapse. But here's our football stadium. Kind of seeing a little bit of Chillhorn come together. We got this large high school in this area that has a lot of sports, a lot of school spirit potentially going on here. But right now, like I said, it's winter, so no one's playing. So the fields are going to be empty. They're going to be covered with snow. Can kind of use our imaginations to kind of picture what it's like on a game day or when there's a ton of kids around. But let's be honest, they're all at the ski resort right now. they're not hanging out at school. They're at the ski resort. It's just across the river. But so next we look for a soccer field or a football field, depending on where you're from. American soccer. Yeah, that's what I meant. And then also this baseball field. So we got all the sports. We got a soccer team. We got a football team. We got a baseball team. Trying to figure out exactly what to do with Move It with this baseball field. Didn't turn out perfect in this area. I decided to like rotate it a little bit here in a second, but then the road didn't connect. And instead of just leaving it and ignoring it, it bothered me. I tried to connect it up with a little path just to see if I could satisfy it, and I couldn't. So we decided to just flip the soccer stadium or the soccer field and the baseball field. And I think it looks a lot better that way. Let me know if you agree or not, but you can see here we're flattening out the land so that we can then put it down. And I think the angle of the diamond, the direction that it's going, I think it works a lot better on that side of the soccer field. At least it did in my head. And here we're adding in a little bit of detailing. We're gonna add some trees. Like everywhere else, we're adding a lot of trees. I'm obsessed with the forest brush tool, and it's a game changer. It's not a life changer, like I said in that last episode, but it's definitely a game changer. And then we're laying down a little more trees just to fill it out where the brush wasn't completely helpful. Throwing a little tree there that didn't really like that one, so we switched it up, and we're just, making it a pretty high school. I think it turned out really neat. Trying to get a little bit more into the detailing of small areas in each one of these videos. And I think it makes for a much better experience for everyone, especially me. It lets me focus on a small segment of the city at a time, instead of just trying to bust out a bunch of different things in the episodes. And I'm trying to get the groove, figure out exactly what I want to do in each of these episodes. And I think we're finally finding our sweet spot. But here we're doing what is turning into my favorite segment, parking lot time, parking space time. And here I fought with lining it up. I feel like you can hide it a lot better when you make small mistakes when there's not snow. But once these assets show the snow, it definitely shows the flaw instantly, as you can see right here. Boom, not lined up. Try it again, not lined up. Try it for another time. Yeah, we can live with that. So then we keep going on with it, and I'm sure other people have struggled with that as well. Gonna be honest with you. These parking lots make me mad. I really, really wish there wasn't snow on those parking spaces. It is what it is. We move on. I ain't got time to remake the assets, even though I think that would be fun. But here I was looking for some decals. I wanted to start playing around with a little bit more detailing. Found the loading zone only. It didn't really print right. So I'm gonna dig into why that is moving forward. But then I got this great idea for billboards. Small towns, high school, I mean, even in large towns, sometimes around the baseball stadium, you have advertisements. You got the local businesses wanting to advertise. So I thought we'd deck out the baseball field with that. And I was a little disappointed there weren't more billboards to choose from. Again, that's some more time I'll be spending in the workshop, finding more customizational things for our cities. But it's definitely fun. I think this turned out exactly how I wanted it. It feels like this small town high school team. They got all the local shops that are trying to make some extra money with this advertising, trying to get people to go to their coffee shop, to their donut shop and everything. And then why not add it alongside the football stadium as well? If it's like most American cities, football is going to be the big money maker. So sad, but some of these high schools do make a decent amount of money off of football games and people coming to watch them. And then I thought the alligators would work perfect for the team mascot, so we throw a billboard out at the front of the school to kind of, represent that. But at this point, I'm going to let this time lapse play out, and I'll catch you on the other side. Enjoy. All right, I think the high school turned out pretty good. Here you're going to see me do a lot of terraforming here, and I think this is like a slippery slope of the game for me. I start wanting things to be flat, and I just keep going until I, get to the point where I want it. I don't know if anybody else does that, but it's definitely something I'm noticing that I do in these areas where there's terrain to begin with. And if you remember early on in this city, there was a large mountain in this area, or I guess a hill. There's probably a hill, and we got rid of it. We flattened this area out a ton, and right here I start using the slope tool because eventually we got to get to where it's flush with the highway. We can't just keep raising it all the way to the highway and make a huge cliff. I don't think that would look natural. So that's what I'm doing here, playing around with the slope tool, trying to get it to look clean as possible. And then we're going to move around the roads they're not going to have that steep of a climb, even though that looks kind of fun to drive down, especially right by the high school with the new drivers. That probably is not the best idea. And right there you can see we did add a slope to the road. So you can see where the terrain's going to start sloping down, and that's where we're going to end up with it, I think, in the next episode. But again, this area here is going to be where we're going to focus on for a while. We're going to build this entire large area out to get it complete so that, it's a big chunk of the city. Once this area is complete, a lot of it's done. There are some ideas that I have for along the river. I know I said I don't think I'm going to add high density, but we might add some high dense apartment complexes around the river. I think it would look nice. I don't know if we're ever going to get any more industry demand. We're going to see how that goes. Again, this is an adjustment for me. I'm not playing with realistic populations, so I'm adjusting back to that and how the demands come and go based on the population growth and how much industry we've laid down. We've laid down a ton of commercial last episode, or the last few episodes. So we're kind of catching up now with residential, and I had plans for a large residential area, so it's working out so far. We'll see how the demand turns out, but here we're adding in, we got the terraforming done, so now we're going to play around with these roads. We're going to add a smallish little subdivision right by the high school. We build out the roads on the section to the right as well, but I don't actually plop down any houses over there. This little area that we're building right now is where the main focus of the rest of the episode is, but we are getting the road structure laid down here for what can naturally be where we'll start off on the next episode. I'm really trying to focus on only having access roads to the neighborhoods on the smaller road. I don't want the large main road to have neighborhood access, and I think that will allow us to have better traffic flow from what I've been watching. I've been watching one of those real city planners play in City Skylines, and there's a lot to learn there. If you haven't checked that out, just search on YouTube for City Planner Plays City Skylines. Great videos. Very realistic based on, being an actual city planner. Pretty cool stuff. But here, need the water. We got to have the water. All right, the time has come. We got some new assets. I wanted to use those, and I was overwhelmed. They fill in so nice. I was blown away when I started putting these down, and I just, honestly, I didn't want to stop building the neighborhoods. It's just, they come out so nice, and the way they fill in with you kind of plop them down and they seem like they auto finish. I don't even know what that is, but it kind of builds the detailing for you and you don't have to go back and do that. So you can see that one had some trees built in and they look gorgeous in the winter. The snow assets here turned out perfect, and we fill in this area and we keep going with that until it's done. And like I've said in episodes in the past, I've never been a plopper. I think that's a funny word, actually, plopper. But I'm falling in love with it. I can see how you can make the city exactly how you're envisioning it, and that's what we're going to do moving forward. I'm getting the hang of it. You can see we're moving a lot faster here than we did when we were building the commercial out that way. The way the road fills in based on us putting the buildings exactly where we want them, and we don't have to worry about the game accidentally or randomly picking a smaller building that doesn't really look good next to it. It's definitely the way to go when you're wanting to do a high detail build, and that's where my gameplay is transitioning to, and we're gonna get better. We're getting better. I'm enjoying it. It's definitely making the game more playable or replayable. That frozen screen, I was tempted to edit out, but it was a freak out moment. It was the game auto saving, and this playback is in ×3. that freeze was, I mean, it felt like 2 minutes. I thought the game was going to crash. I thought I was going to lose all my progress, but we didn't. It worked out just fine. These roads that we have down here look great. They have curbs on them. They are the plain roads with curbs. They look amazing. I'm going to transition a lot of it to that. It turned out great. I love it. This new area is looking good. I'm excited to keep going and get to the rest of the build. But that's going to wrap it up for this episode. I want to thank everyone for joining, especially if you made it this far. If you're enjoying what you're seeing, hit that like button. And if you're interested in watching me build a city live, head on over to Twitch, search for Socks Way Up. You can find me over there. We just hit affiliate. Super excited about that. But the current schedule is Sundays and Wednesdays around 8:30 Mountain Standard Time. Sometimes I start a little bit earlier depending on what's going on in my day. But we try to go live for about 2 to 3 hours. Probably stretched out to 4 hours soon as I'm getting used to being live on Twitch again. I don't know how those streamers do it for 8 hours a day. That is insane. But thanks for joining. I think the city's coming along great. I hope you're enjoying it. Again, I hope it's helping you bring in the holiday season. Thanks for sticking around this long into the episode, and I'll catch you on the next episode of Chillhorn.